Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
At the end of twilight, beginning of nightfall, waning sun falls from the golden summer sky. Baseballs are sailing to clouds that are waiting, like shooting stars through the darkening night.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Barbara Hardt.
And I'm Doug Armitage. Thanks for joining us. The intro music is provided by Anya Hinkle, a bluegrass and folk musician who grew up in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. Currently residing in Asheville, North Carolina, she will be touring Colorado in August, performing at the Gold Hill Inn on Wednesday, August 17, 2022 at 6 p.m. This song is her latest single, Coming Home, featuring Japanese banjoist and composer Akira Satake.
This episode is brought to you by the Netterling Community Library, Brightwood Music, Hardt's Backhoe, and of course, the Mountaineer newspaper. And now to the news desk.
Our first story of the week is Jamie Lammers interviewing musician Anya Hinkle about her upcoming performance at the Gold Hill Inn. Off you go, Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with musician Anya Hinkle.
I'm Anya Hinkle. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina.
And you are coming to Colorado to perform very soon, I hear. Where will you be performing?
Well, I have a number of shows lined up all over the state, mostly in the Denver area, but I'll also be heading into the mountains as well for a few shows, so looking forward to being up in that high elevation and seeing if I can have enough breath to sing some of these songs.
How did you start in music? What is some of your musical background? What are some of your influences? How did music come to be something that you became passionate for?
Well, I grew up in a musical family. My mother and stepfather were both cellists in the symphony, and so I was always around music. I sang in choir and played the violin as a child. But being from southwestern Virginia in the mountains, I was also exposed to, mountain music, folk music, bluegrass, and old time. So I kind of started getting more interested in that music in high school and started taking guitar lessons. And my first love was Norman Blake. I really loved his music. And Tony Rice, I had all those on tape. I wore those out in the car when I had my driver's license for the first time, driving around listening to that. I guess I keep coming back to that quite a bit, those early influences of Norman Blake.
Would you say that primarily bluegrass and folk, are those kind of your genres, or would you describe your style as something different?
I think that describes really accurately where I've come from and where my roots are. I think like every artist, there's going to be a record where you want to try some new things, and I'm certainly in that camp. I lived out west for a long time, not necessarily doing music, but I fell in love with bluegrass music again a number of years later in, of all places, Berkeley, California, where I was living for a number of years, and started going to bluegrass jam, and after a while I thought, why am I here? I want home. And so I went back home and I started going to the Floyd Store Jam, and I went to all the old time festivals, playing a lot of fiddle back then, more than guitar. And I really liked the old time music. I wasn't writing songs. I just wanted to sing and pick the old time way. And it wasn't until I moved to Asheville that I really got into songwriting. We started a band. The first little band I had was Delia Lowe. And I realized at a certain point that we needed songs. So I started writing, and I've always loved writing. So it was kind of a nice mix for me. I really love the lyrics and creating songs around different ideas and exploring those musically as well as lyrically. So I think I was naturally a songwriter before I even occurred to me really to write any. So I was really happy to have the opportunity to do that. So I guess that's back in 06 or so. So that's been a while. So I've been at this about 15 years, kind of more in a serious way with bands and recording and touring and that kind of thing. So it's been quite a journey. Now I'm on my own and working on my second studio album under my own name. So it's been a long road getting here, but gotta say I'm more excited than ever to have opportunities to explore not only just the roots of my music, acoustic, folk, bluegrass type stuff, but moving into other genres that maybe suit my songwriting style a little bit better. So, I'll always love all those dobros and fiddles and mandolins, but, I want to explore placing my music in some different genres as well. So I'm shooting a little more Americana these days, I'd say.
And would you say that you have a favorite part about being able to perform live and being able to tour and being able to just perform music as a career in general?
I think the performance is where the rubber hits the road. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but there's so much to making music, and I think most people don't really know what a music career is, and I don't know that I completely do. I'm always learning new things, but at least for a performing musician, having a tour or show that you're preparing for, it really gives some structure to what you're putting out there. So sometimes, for example, you might feel like, well, I've got a lot of slower tunes in my set. Maybe I need a few things that are peppier, or maybe I need to have a song that I can do by myself and then bring the rest of the band up. Or maybe there's some covers that I might like to throw in. People like how I sound. They may want to hear me do a song that's familiar to them. So there's something that's created. It helps create your art by having an audience for it. And their feedback, which you get when you're on stage, that really helps you structure your efforts a little bit. And I really appreciate it. I mean, it's not like the audience is dictating your art in any way, but I think it's just a conversation. I've always liked collaborating much more than me having all the answers. I think it's a conversation, and your fans, they love you and they want you to be successful, and they're going to let you know what they like, and that's always helpful and encouraging.
And is there anything just in general that you want your audience to be able to take away from your shows whenever they come and see you?
I think that when you go to a show and then when you leave with some new ideas on things. You leave feeling a little differently. So I guess all I can hope is just that I can create, that's the beauty of live music really, is you just don't know what's going to happen. It's all in the moment. It's just this little pop-up thing. You can't capture it. I mean, even if you record it, you can't really capture that moment. So it's a real practice. It's like you go in to meditate and you come out with a little different outlook and maybe some new things to think about. That's it. That's all. It's there and then it's gone. So it's an interesting art form, but a special one.
Just in general, is there anything else along the lines of your music or upcoming tours or just anything else in general you want to add?
Well, I think this year I've started with a new agency with a booking agent that's going to help me kind of, I think, get into some markets that I've really been wanting to explore for a long time. One of them being Colorado. I just have always had a lot of great connections through music in that community, and I think there's so many like-minded, creative, passionate people in Colorado. They love the arts. They love the outdoors. They're curious and open. And Colorado, just when I think about it, it's just like the western sky, and the people, they've really internalized that. And then California, same kind of thing. Northern California are just my people. It's the place where I kind of grew up. I love it there, and I'm excited to get back to that market. And then also just expanding in my own southeastern region where I can stay close to home. So there's some places I'm excited to kind of strengthen and hang out and meet people. But I've also been lucky enough to go to Europe. I just got back from a month-long tour and had a wonderful time there. Now that, quote, COVID's over, although I just had COVID, I was just glad I didn't get it there, and I'm glad I won't get it when I go to Colorado, I guess, without what's going on there. But I just like to keep going back to Europe as well. I feel like the people over there love American music, and they appreciate it in a really different way that is helpful. Like I said, the audience really reinforces your focus and your passion and gives you new insights on your value as an artist. And I think it's a good perspective. It's a good partnership with somebody that's very different than somebody you meet in the U.S. So I want to continue that. This will be going back to Europe next year. That'll be my third tour there. And finally, I go to Japan every year and tour. And I've got a really delightful partnership with another artist in Japan. So I've done quite a bit of work over there, probably 3 or 4 tours total. So I'm really excited to go and continue that. It means a lot to me, that culture and that language and that that place. It's just like our world 180 degrees in so many ways. And to be able to share my music in that culture is kind of the work of my lifetime, I feel, in a certain way. So yeah, my touring is a really important part of who I am as an artist. And I just feel really grateful to have that opportunity to connect and share with people all over the world.
I think those are all the big questions that I have on my end.
I think you have my tour schedule, and it's on my website too, if people are interested in joining me. It would be wonderful to meet more people. This will be my second tour in recent years in Colorado, and it kind of started because my cousin is a bass player in Denver, and we had kind of just exchanged a couple text messages on my birthday last year in April. I was like, we should play music together someday. And then I was like, wait, I have this new record out. It'd be really nice to take it out to Colorado as part of the release tour. And, with COVID, it was just so hard to book any band shows and tours. Everything was so uncertain. So this was perfect. Just a nice, simple way to tour and get the music out there from my record that was released last year, even in her borderland. So it was so much fun that we decided to do it again. And so this will be our second. We're calling it #cousin tour. So it would be me, my cousin Troy. He's a wonderful bass player. He plays with a lot of bands out there in Colorado. Jake Legg and Tarka, Carrie Pestine, a number of other bands, and plays all kinds of music, jazz, rock and roll, bluegrass, all kinds of stuff. So we have a good time presenting the music together and just reconnecting. And so that'll be this tour, a duo tour with my cousin Troy Roby.
Thank you so much for coming on board. I think this was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to have a little support from you to help get the word out. And yeah, looking forward to it. Appreciate it.
For sure.
Thank you so much to Anya for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. If you want to see her perform live in the Peak to Peak area, be sure to head to the Gold Hill Inn, 401 Main Street in Gold Hill on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Thanks, Jamie. Now to the news desk. The Mountaineer hosted a candidate forum on Tuesday, August 9th at 5 p.m. at the Nederland Community Library. The election is Tuesday, August 23rd. Keep an eye on the Mountaineer in print and online for important election information.
Some of the current highlights in the Mountaineer include our weekly music column, which is the only weekly print music listing to cover the entire Peak to Peak region. This week we have 5 Keep It Local stories, another business story, the Candidates Forum story, multiple government stories, and more.
For our next story, Art speaks to Julia at EFA about their newly acquired property in Nederland and what they do in the community. Take it away, Art.
Hey, this is Art DeVitalis, and here is my interview with Julie Van Dommelen on EFA and how they're expanding to Nederland.
Could you please introduce yourself and what you do?
Yep, I'm Julie Van Dommelen. I'm the Executive Director at EFA, the Emergency Family Assistance Association. EFA is a local nonprofit that's been working in the community for over 100 years as a community-based safety net, and we've been providing services in the mountains for a long time and are looking to expand those services.
All right, awesome. Please tell us about the overall mission of the Emergency Family Assistance Association.
Yeah, our mission is to help families thrive and to provide safety net services to the community that we serve. We serve the City of Boulder and the Boulder Valley School District part of the mountains, so Nederland, all the way up to and including Jamestown, the north, across the Peak to Peak region. We have several types of programs. In Boulder, we run a food bank, and we have financial assistance or basic needs support, and we're basically a one-stop shop. If someone comes in having a tough time making ends meet or needs some support, we provide both direct assistance, for example, rent, help with medical bills, help with some car repairs, utility bills. In the mountains, that can include buying wood and propane. It's not just Excel bills. And then we have housing. And housing is for temporary housing, I think is the best way to put that. We're not in the permanent housing business, but we really help people that are going through periods of housing insecurity. Down in EFA, below in the mountains, we have 7 units, or apartment buildings, if you will, 56 apartments that we run temporary programs up to 2 years for families with kids that are going through homelessness or have, been priced out of their lease, that don't have a next landing spot, people that are housing insecure, and particularly families with children. So I wanted to clarify that we're not a drop-in shelter for the homeless. We really are helping people with housing transitions. In those housing programs, we provide some up to 3 months, free help stabilize. It could be a family that either was facing eviction or was in their car, or most often couch surfing and burning through relationships and just not able to find a stable housing situation, and that helps them stabilize. And then we have a transitional program up to 2 years with kind of a baseline rent of around $500, depending on the number of bedrooms. And in all those cases, we have case managers that work with the families to help them get on housing lists and apply for public housing. We work with them on their goals and savings, linking with other programs, working with the kids on making sure that they're linked with other resources, after school kinds of activities that we run. It's a holistic approach to support families that are going through housing insecurity. We have housing in Boulder, Lafayette, Louisville, and Longmont. And that meant leaving the mountains. It meant leaving community. It means leaving schools and jobs. And so people were hesitant to do that, even when they were in these situations. So we've been looking for quite a while to expand our housing stock up into the mountains so that we would be able to offer the same services across the county for everyone. And it wouldn't mean leaving the mountains.
Please explain the current project to expand the offerings in Netherlands.
Yeah, so it was probably less than a year ago. We were approached by some Netherlands residents that had a rental property, and they were retiring from the community and were looking to sell, and they really wanted it to remain with a social purpose for the community, to keep folks in Netherlands. We know what the housing market has been doing up there. There's more and more people that are being driven out of being able to afford Netherlands, longtime residents. And so we were very interested in talking with them. So we've come to an agreement that we would purchase the property. It's the 10-unit old hotel on East Street in Netherlands. As part of the purchase, 10 small units. We typically have like 2-bedroom apartments, maybe 1-bedroom apartments, but not efficiencies. So, and looking at what the community needs, there's also an issue of seniors being able to go through those same kinds of transitions and find more stable housing when they may have to move out of their home for whatever reason. So in Netherlands, we're looking at maybe a blend of families with kids and some seniors because the efficiency is better for one person. So we're looking at kind of a different program that fits the community need. We're not doing this quickly. Part of the sale, which we closed on a couple weeks ago, we are committing for all the current tenants to remain through the end of January 2023. So we're not in the business of dislocating people and, causing folks to be housing insecure. We're trying to address that problem. So we're looking at how we're going to use those units and what the best kind of program mix for the community is, giving folks that would be moving on plenty of time to find something else, probably keep a few that are there that fit the criteria for the programs we want to run would stay. So that's what we're in right now. We're just taking over the building as a landlord, making sure that we learn about the building, maintenance, learn about the tenants, and talk to the community. And we have a mountain resource liaison staff member that's based in Netherlands. We have an office at the Netherlands Community Center. We provide rental assistance and all kinds of assistance up in the mountains. So that person is also going to be in charge of the support and referrals of the housing up there at 260 East Street.
Let's see here. Oh, and I kind of wanted to ask, could you just maybe provide examples or even some stories of how you've helped families in the past and how they've even kind of moved on to greener pastures in terms of the living situation goes?
That's what we're focused on. So in our housing program, for example, we track exits, if you will, successful exits. And for us, that means someone has moved on from EFA housing to a safe, secure, adequate for your family size and affordable at 50% of your income, which is kind of our local benchmark, if you will. So during the days at EFA Housing, our staff work very carefully and closely with families on what's your next move? What does it look like? What are you saving for? What are your employment prospects that will help you get there? So we've had everything from a family that was able to save in 2 years enough to purchase a mobile home, and that's actually happened more than once, to families that came in really in crisis, as in almost about ready to lose their children, to Child Protective Services, unable to care, living in the car, and in all kinds of crisis, really stabilize into a family unit and life in an apartment with just the routines of life, with kids stable in school. We do things like homework help. So those families have been able to find both slots in, Section 8 vouchers to retain permanent affordable housing, as well as find market rentals. It's hard, as we all know, but with time and with a bit of breathing room. Oftentimes, folks may have credit issues or 2 years of track record of paying rent and utilities helps them find the next thing. We measure and track how people do. Right now, about 80% of the families leaving our housing are leaving to those successful, affordable, adequate, and safe housing. That's low for us. Usually we're at about 90%, but the market is a bit of a bear out there to find something that people can move into, as we all know. We spend a lot of time helping folks figure those next steps out so they're not alone and they're not, just kind of put out back onto the streets or back into their cars or back into tents.
What defines a family as in need or qualify for the programs that EFA offers?
So for the housing, we have a priority list. We don't have a wait list. So, for example, if there's a single mom living in the car with a newborn, they would be at the very top of the list, like in terms of their safety and security, versus a family that might be couch surfing and can hang on for another month with that, but is really looking for, entry. So we don't do you're on number 1 on the wait list, number 2 on the wait list, and when it opens, we want to have people always be looking for solutions and not just waiting for their number to come up. So there is no set income. In our other housing, you have to have children. To have 51% of custody of your children. In Netherlands, we may be looking at, as I said, broadening that to some seniors in need. We work closely with the Area Agency on Aging, looking at basically that you can't make ends meet and you are at imminent risk of being homeless. Or you could be without a fixed home. We definitely have families that enter our housing from being in their cars or being in not a fixed residence. You have to be a resident of Boulder County. So our county is an expensive place to just land and start figuring things out. We have enough of our own community members that are going through housing insecurity that we look to have at least 90-day residency in Boulder County. There's always exceptions, but we want to prioritize this limited resource to the community members that, have roots here that are going through this experience. There is a rent component of this, so we're looking at some ability to afford that rent. It's very low, but, we're usually looking for about $1,000 a month in income. And again, there are always exceptions. With the seniors that we might be looking at different kinds of qualifiers for people on a fixed income. But for families with kids, families can work, that's what we're looking for. And basically our approach is not so much, fill out the form and do you qualify as let's have a conversation and hear what's going on.
All right.
So, yeah. It's kind of old school, but it's
awesome.
It's a lot more effective. So we have a initial kind of meeting with the EFA case manager, and that looks at the whole picture, like what are your other options? What else is going on? How else can we support you in this period? Whether it's financial health class that we offer, it could be, are you accessing the food bank? Both up in Netherlands, you could also access the food bank down in Boulder if you're working down in Boulder and hours work better for you here. We work a lot with the folks at the Netherlands Food Pantry. What other supports? Going through housing insecurity has a toxic stress component. We have, it's scary, and it's doubly scary when you're parenting children through it. Kids are afraid. It's a very dislocating experience. So we're looking at the whole picture. What's going on with the kids? We provide things like a lot of referrals through school district, some summer camps, so that parents can work. We have a broad array of things. So we just want to have that conversation. Let's take a look at the picture and see whether this housing program is a fit, both for you and for us. It's not just an apartment. You're kind of committing to a whole program of engagement in finding a solution.
Awesome. How does it start? How does someone interested in the program start to apply or take that first step?
Well, and so just to be aware, these apartments won't open until January, so we're still 6 months out from really having, and people may leave. Some folks that may be moving on, we may have things open up a little bit before then, but I don't want to build expectations. There are two ways. You could contact EFA's main office, which is 303-442-3042. Or you can call directly our Mountain Resource Liaison, Kelly. Her number is 720-422-7813. And both of those numbers are available on our website, www.efaa.org, under the Get Help page. And we would set you up with that initial appointment, to give people an idea of also what the realistic time frame is, what that initial resourcing meeting is important to just start the process.
Yeah, get going.
We've increased, for example, in the last year, we have a program of rental assistance. And as we've come out of COVID, there's been a lot of COVID rental assistance available, both through us and now through Boulder County, that are larger than the normal, arrears to clear. But going back to our kind of more normal rental assistance, we used to provide up to $600, and we're now providing up to $1,000 a month, once per year for individuals, and 3 times a year for families with kids. Each time it would be up to $1,000. So our first goal is to keep people housed, keep people where they are. If they have a little bump in the road, they got the hours cut, there was a medical emergency, something happened, and they can't make rent, the best thing is just to help with that 1 month of rent, and then they're right back on track, and they're not moving around or losing a lease. So we first want to kind of prevent these moments of housing insecurity from happening. And so all those programs are available through the Mountain Resource Liaison. Like I said, utility assistance, medical, some transportation. We've expanded this year our support for car repairs. We heard loud and clear from our participants, and it was kind of an exceptional small fund that we would run out of pretty quickly whenever it opened. We really heard from people that, hey, particularly with COVID, a lot of that maintenance and keeping up your tires and everything just kind of got backlogged with just getting through the pandemic. And if your car breaks down, you can't get to your job, and then you lose your job, and then you lose your housing. Or you can't get to your medical appointment, or you can't, we've expanded that fund pretty substantially with the help of a donor that stepped in.
Is there any way for local residents to get involved, maybe volunteering or something else with the organization?
Yeah. We always say there are many ways to engage. If you're interested in helping on a community safety net, to volunteer, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. We have less up in the mountains, but we could look into that. A lot of our volunteers are at our food bank here. So we encourage people to help at Meadowlands Food Bank. Or some people are down in Boulder working and they could volunteer after their work shift. I mean, we love volunteers. We've also had volunteers in almost every aspect of EFA. We have volunteers that help in our children's program, help with homework, that help with our advocacy work. EFA has a strategic education program, which is essentially to, in addition to providing direct services, we also want to kind of change the conditions of the community we live in that make it such that people need our assistance. So going kind of upstream into the structural part in our community, like housing affordability, income and wages.
Kind of wanted to ask, why is this personally important to you?
Personally, I grew up in Colorado. I worked all over the world in countries in Africa and South America on poverty. I think it's something that deeply disturbs me, that with all of the resources we have, particularly here in Boulder County, it just shouldn't be this hard for people to put food on the table and be able to afford a decent place to live. That if we want to be all that we can be and live a good life, we have to address some of these issues in our community. A child growing up in Boulder County should have no fear of having a roof over their head or having food on the table. We've got this. We should be able to do this. And so it is a personal passion of mine. Maybe just I want to live in a fairer world, quite simply.
Tell us where the public can find more information and kind of where the latest news on EFA can be found.
So we have a website, www.efaa.org. Also, please like us on Facebook and Instagram. We put out a lot of social media, which is kind of news of the day of what's going on at EFA. And that gives you a good glimpse of kind of all the partnerships we have, of the activities going on, how to get engaged, who's doing food drives for us. It's a lively social media presence, so please look for us on Facebook and Instagram. You can sign up at info@efa.org. You can ask to be put on our mailing list. We send out our newsletters and various other, we don't overwhelm your inbox, but you will get occasional emails updating on what's going on at EFA by email.
All right, great.
We do not have the kind of rent rates established yet in Netherlands. I'm thinking back on what I missed. So we're still just figuring it out. So we know how we operate our housing in our other 7 sites. This site would bring us up to 66 apartments from 56. And we are still working out what's the right fit there.
Thanks, Julie. And for more, watch out for the print edition of the Mountaineer newspaper. I'm Art DeVitalis for the Mountaineer Podcast.
Thanks, Art. Did you know every week you can check out the latest Backdoor Theater movie on their website at www.thebackdoortheater.org?
Friends, the Gilpin County Democrats hold monthly meetings in person on the 4th Thursday of each month at the Gilpin County Library from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. For more information, contact gilpindemschair@gmail.com.
Peak-to-peak musicians and artists, the Mountain Ear is looking for you. We're looking for our August and September featured musician. Would you like a feature story in the Mountain Ear print, online, and podcast edition? These are all completed through email, phone calls, or occasional in-person interviews with our journalists. Interested? Check out our contact information at the end of the podcast.
Summer is here, and Brightwood Music in Nederland has travel instruments to take with you on your journey. From travel guitars to ukuleles, mandolins to harmonicas, and more, Brightwood has what you need for the aspiring musician or the advanced performer. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated and has been a Netherlands staple for all of your music needs since 2009. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 109 in Nederland, and can be reached at 303-258-8863. Check them out at Brightwood Music on Facebook.
And here's Arthur with his interview with Stephanie Andelman about the upcoming Ned Jazz Wine event.
I'm Art DeVitalis for the Mountaineer Podcast. In this interview, I caught up with Stephanie Andelman about the upcoming Ned Jazz and Wine Fest.
I'm Stephanie Andelman, one of the co-founders of nedtogo.com, and we are putting on the first annual Netherlands Jazz and Music Festival in Chapita Park, and that is aligning great music, deep jazz inspiration, and high-quality drinks that are adult beverages from wineries, cideries, meaderies, and distilleries.
So there are 11 drink and beverages vendors that you have set up for this event.
Actually, let me tell you more detail on that.
All right.
We have 14 alcohol vendors. 3 are distilleries. 1 is a cidery. 2 are meaderies. And 8 are wineries. The wineries come from the West Slope, where they're growing their own grapes and having their own wine on site or distributed throughout the state and the country. And we also have wineries that are located in Boulder County, such as Augustina's here in Netherlands, which use grapes from the Western Slope.
All right, awesome. Wow, and that's a huge variety. Of course, seems like there's a focus on the wine, but it is in the name. Could you give us a roll call, that type of thing?
Absolutely. So on the winery list, we have Alfred Eames Cellars. It's a very small winery, and it's a father and son team. They will be on site, and all of these wineries will be pouring tastes of their wine for free and answering any questions about their operations and how they grow and where they're selling and how they got into it. Most of them are family-run wineries, so they have great stories to share. On the other side, more of a corporate winery is OBC Wines. That's Odell Brewing Company Winery. They come in cans. I personally think they're excellent wines. They'll be on site. We also have Vino Colorado Winery, Jack Rabbit Hill Farm Wines. They are a biodynamic winery. also on the western slope. We have Mesa Winds Winery and Colorado Vintners Collective. And I already mentioned we have Augustina's, who has been a great help in putting this wine festival together with her experience going to many festivals and farmers markets. So she was able to educate us how it's done and what to expect. And she was very much a guidance counselor, shall we say, and telling us we should pull this off with very little money and a lot of hopes and dreams. And that's why this first annual is a scaled down version, although I think having 14 alcohol vendors is quite impressive. But next year and the years following will be bigger based on a lot more planning and different ticket levels. This year is really homegrown for the community and allowing them to get in on the ground floor.
Definitely. Well, a wine guidance counselor sounds fantastic.
Oh, she really was. Also on the alcohol side, we have 11 wine vendors. It's called Evergood Adventure Wine, and they have really fun graphics on their cans, and they're designed for the bikers and the skiers who need a cool drink after their sport, or even maybe before or during their sport. But it's a lighter wine, and it is fermented lemons, so everyone has to come out and try that one. On the side of meaderies, we have Queen Bee Brews, and she's a one-woman operation. Excellent product. She'll be there herself pouring the wines. And we have Boulder Base Lux Elixirs, and they have non-alcohol infusions, alcohol infusions, elixirs, as they also like to call them, as well as mead. And Courtney, who has Honeybee Herbals here in Rollinsville, also helps make those mead drinks, and she will be on site. So we definitely have a local flavor with everything. On the distillery side, we have the good old Gold Dirt Distillery here in Rollinsville. We have from Lion Spirit Hound Distillers, and then we have Cap Rock, which is based out of the Jack Rabbit Hill Farm on the western slope. And they happen to be, I found out just the other day, the second oldest distillery in all of Colorado, number one being Stranahan's. And then finally, we have the Old Mine as a cidery. They make hard ciders, and they're out of Erie. So that's the alcohol lineup.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for the detail of that.
And if you do not wish to sample alcoholic beverages, we actually have non-alcoholic beverage booths as well that are pouring samples, such as Sadi Soda. We have Indian Peak Spring Water, which is owned by a local, so you can get lots of water, whether or not you're drinking, and Boulder Juicery, which comes to the Netherlands Farmers Market. And we are just about to confirm a kombucha company and a coffee company.
Great. We'll get to the main feature, Jazz, in a minute. But first, could you tell us a bit about the community vendors that you've got lined up?
Sure. On the community side, we have vendors with art, crafts, local wares such as Kaleidoscope Fine Arts Gallery, a woodworker named Alan who is making wine racks and cutting boards, One Offs Plus that has bottles from wine and liquor that he puts lights in and paints. They're beautiful, and he's definitely going to make them Netherlands themed with skulls and mountain peaks. And we'll have a booth that combines the offerings of the Mountaineer, the newspaper here, who has done so much to get out the word about this festival and all events around town, as well as Brightwood Music. They'll be together, and Brightwood Music knows all about jazz, the best instruments to bring jazz to life. So go and check them out, say hi, and pass along to the next wonderful vendors that are at the festival. Independent Jewelry Company, again, another local who makes jewelry from mine products and local stones. We have the shop with Claudia in the Caribou Village Shopping Plaza. And we have Wabi Sabi Metal Studio. He lives in Gilpin County, and his creations are also very heavy in stones and metal and all crafted in his home there. On the food side, we have vendors who are selling both prepared and packaged foods, such as Angel's Perfect Pasta. You may have seen Angel at the Netherlands Farmers Market. We have Kind Confections. They're also at the Farmers Market, and they have vegan
baked goods. I always go to the farmer's market and get those baked goods to start off my day. Burning Bridges hot sauce. Mm-hmm. And we also have Mountain Goat Catering, and she will have a table of her homemade crackers and several dips, including cheeses, that go very well with wine. So we realized that when people are sipping wine, they would like to have a paired menu to enjoy with their beverages. So we have 2 food trucks coming. The Dynamite Shack, they will have a special paired menus, so more small plates, and it is all designed to go with these adult beverages, as well as Eldora's Corduroy food truck. This is the second time that Eldora is bringing out their food truck from the mountain down to town. The first time they did it was at Ned Gravel, and they are also making small plates to pair with our adult beverages. I'm really excited to see the kind of menu that they're coming up with.
Could you tell me a little bit about the jazz bands that you have lined up? I guess starting out with the Noah Bless Band.
Sure. Noah Bless comes from New York City. He's a Grammy winner for mostly Latin jazz. He is known widely as a full-time trombone player in Manhattan, and he is 30 years into his profession. He has traveled the world with the Mambo Kings and Spanish Harlem and many other well-known bands. And he has put together a 5-piece band to play for Ned Jazz Wine. So he's flying in with his family, and we can't wait to see him take the big stage. You can look him up. He has his own website with his recent albums on it. He is often played by Kubo and everyone over at Kubo, and they are supporting this event, are very big fans of Noah Bless, and whatever setup he puts together, whoever he chooses to back up his trombone player is always outstanding.
Awesome. So how long are the sets going to be on this one?
The musicians will play. We have, like I said, a 5-piece band, and then when we talk about Gabe, we have a 3-piece band. They'll each play for 2 hours.
All right. That's perfect. Could you tell us about the Gabriel Mervine Trio?
Sure. So Gabe, as he's usually known as, is mostly associated with the motet and being on the road with the motet. But if you go to nedjazzwine.com and read about him, you'll see all of the different bands he's played with. He is a house musician for Nocturne Supper Club, which is one of the 2 big jazz clubs in Denver. And you may know that the Denver jazz scene is just blossoming like crazy. They have 2 jazz clubs with at least 4 nights of live jazz. And Gabe is a regular on that scene. We got to see him at Appaloosa, and he also plays there once a week. And the people he brings together and their phenomenal talent is really breathtaking. When we watched, our mouths dropped, and we said, we have to have him. And he was our anchor musician to build upon. And then we asked Noah.
Tell me a little bit of the inspiration behind this event, how it came together, and how it was put together by, I guess, those that were interested in making it happen.
So Neverland has a deep history in jazz. There used to be weekly acid jazz nights, and people throughout the Front Range would come to them, come to play in them, come to listen to them, and you would never know who would be at that scene playing. And often they were very famous musicians passing through the Denver area, and they heard about acid jazz, and they came up, and would a crowd come around and play and talk about it for weeks and years. So we want to revive that association of Nederland to jazz. We are a town that has a lot of music, but we want to offer something beyond just the rock, the jam rock, and the bluegrass, and bring back a little jazz. So that was one of the main inspirations. How can we get jazz back to Nederland, but on a big stage in a professional scene? Based on the fact that Ned to Go promotes events and we want to keep Ned to Go going, we thought it's time to put on our own event and associate the 2, because this is about food, music, and drinking. And Ned to Go is all about which establishments that offers food and alcohol, plus all the events that you can attend at those places, are open, what hours, what menus. So we tied the 2 in together. This year is really an out-of-pocket year to put this on, but we're hoping next year's create some revenue to allow Ned to Go to continue. And we wanted to help a local cause. So when we sat back and thought, how do we do an event, get the word out, put this music aspect that attracts people, plus celebrate all of these Colorado alcohol vendors and community vendors, we thought, let's support a cause that is not a children-related cause based on the alcohol vision here. And so we asked Nederland area seniors, and they could not be more excited. They threw up their hands and said, what can we do for you, and how can we help you? And they'll have their own booth and their own volunteers. Their board will be there. Their staff will be there. And we will donate at least $1,000 to the seniors, but every ticket sales directly goes to help the Nederland area seniors, activities, and staff.
I just wanted to ask you how people can get a hold of tickets and anything else kind of related to that.
Sure. The event is Saturday, August 20th in Chipeta Park in Nederland. And the way to get tickets, advance sales, is on nedjazzwine.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook by putting in @nedjazzwine. Our little abbreviation of the Nederland Jazz and Wine Festival is Ned Jazz Wine, and you'll see this for many years to come.
How many tickets are you looking to sell for this event?
We are allowed up to 1,000 people in Chipeta Park, but our goal is 500 people. Tickets are selling, and we are working with local businesses and neighbors and trying to get them all involved and educated and there, however and whatever it takes. And I know that Jazz Fest, like New Orleans Jazz Fest, has a different feeling of what jazz can be interpreted as, like gospel music, rock jazz. This festival could certainly go in that direction, but I want this first one to be true jazz. Noah is Latin jazz, I said that, and Gabe is progressive jazz. So they're truly steeped in both being highly educated in music and teaching music and playing around the world and preferring to play in their hometowns, Manhattan and Denver, but they're real jazz. Then we get to interpretive jazz, and however you'd like to interpret that. And that may be future years. But right now we have real jazz that goes in many directions. These guys will go in whatever jammy directions they go, but it's true to, them being from music school and writing and teaching. And then we'll see where this goes in future years.
Could you tell us some other ways that local businesses and community members have been getting involved in the fest?
This event is really possible because of Eldora and their in-kind donation of their stage and their tents, and we'll have a games area that they're sponsoring with interactive games like large tic-tac-toe and cornhole and throw the ring on a cone. It'll be really fun, not just to sit and watch music, but also play games and meet your neighbors, or maybe meet somebody from Denver who thinks Nederland's the coolest place to be. So Dora made that possible, and I so appreciate their involvement with the food truck and their input and their promotions to their skiers. Additionally, Homes by Jackie Jones. Jackie Jones is a well-known realtor here. She has been essential also in allowing this to be possible with her financial support, and she will also have a real fun booth where she's making cotton candy that goes with white wine, and she'll have games outside of her tent as well.
Oh, wow. That's something to try for sure.
Yeah. I also want to thank the town of Nederland. Having events in Nederland is complicated on many ends. It's hard for the person putting on the event. It's hard for town to figure out the particulars of making sure everything is done in preparation of the event. And they have been wonderful to work with. There are new policies from the State Liquor Board that we're all following, and they could not have done more to support this and go through all the steps necessary as a foundation for future events.
All right, awesome. Well, this is seriously great. I'm glad to see that it's coming together.
And for those who have been waiting for it, here's a promotion code to get $5 off the $35 ticket price for the Ned Jazz and Wine Fest.
Hey, listeners, here is your coupon code. Save $5 and just put in this coupon code when you're purchasing a ticket in the coupon code field. That coupon code is NJW-Mountaineer.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm Art Devitalis for the Mountaineer Podcast.
Thanks, Arthur. The Gilpin County Republican meetings are the first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. at the Gilpin County Library. You can contact them at gcrcgilpin@gmail.com.
Are you interested in being a podcast sponsor? We have sponsorships available starting at $30 per week, or sponsor a whole month for just $99. The podcast reaches a different audience than the print or online edition of The Mountain Ear.
For our next story, Jamie Lammers interviews Seth Coulter of Crosscut Pizzeria in Nederland. Take it away, Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with Seth Coulter, one of the owners of Crosscut Pizzeria.
My name's Seth Coulter. I'm one of the owners at Crosscut Pizza in Netherlands.
So how long ago did the business start? How did it start? How did it come to be? All that sort of stuff.
It's been in business since October of 2015. There was like a soft opening at the very end of October of 2015. I started there in the beginning of January of 2016, so less than 2 months into the business. I started there as a cook. The original business, there was a food truck. It was Dawn Dennison's food truck. She used to have a pizza food truck that she sold pizzas out of, and they would go to different locations, including Salto and other places in the past. Some people might remember that. She was and is passionate about cooking pizzas. So Dawn Dennison and her husband, Tom Plant, started Crosscut with Peter Marshall and Shannon Tupa, who are also married. Without going into too many details, their partnership was not working for them in the beginning. And so Dawn and Tom decided to leave the business within months of having the business with Peter and Shannon. And I was working previously as a chef down below. I've worked in this area since 2002 or 2003 in the Denver, Boulder, and Nederland area, so for quite some time. And I was working as a chef down below for Cheese and Porters in Longmont. And I had gotten a job up here at Crosscut Pizza as a cook, and our intention was to open a food truck or a restaurant that summer. And so we were speaking one night. Peter Marshall, Shannon Tupa, and myself were speaking downstairs, and I knew that their original partnership was failing right off the bat. It was pretty clear. And so we spoke and came up with the idea as a group of my wife and I buying into Crosscut right in the very beginning. So we took out an 11-year loan and bought 38% of Crosscut. So now the business is owned by Peter and Shannon, my wife, whose name is Jessica Coulter, and myself. And then our fifth partner, his name is Scott Radersdorf. He owns a small percentage, 7%. That was the beginning of the business as we know it. And in the beginning, we were making wood-fired pizzas, as we still are. And we've grown the business significantly over the years. In the beginning, we were doing fewer than 100 pizzas a night. And then eventually we did 100 and then 200 and then 300, 400, 500, 600. Our record number of pizzas that we've sold in a day was 646 pizzas, which I never dream of beating that record. I mean, we might someday, but I'm content never doing that many. It's quite a lot of pizzas in one day out of one oven. So I started there as a cook, and then within months I was an owner with my wife. She ran the front of the house and I ran the back of the house, the kitchen. And currently I'm the only working owner at Crosscut. Occasionally Peter and Shannon will work there if we need them to fill in on a shift or two, but they are essentially retired from Crosscut, and my wife still does payroll, and we just had our second daughter, so she's quite busy with the kids. So she helps the front of the house manager. We have a back of house manager and a front of house manager, and I help them both successfully run our restaurant.
What would you say are some of the features of your business that make them unique from other businesses and other pizzerias like it?
Well, we are somewhat traditional in our Neapolitan, which was from Naples, Italy, the style of pizza, but we're not fully traditional. In Italy, you have to do things very regimented or controlled. To call something, it has to be very specific, like a Parmesan has to be from it. Do you know what I mean? It has to be very specific. But anyway, so what we do, we use Colorado milled flour, organic flour for our dough. It's a 3-day fermentation. So by the time it's cooked, it's 3 or 4 days old. And that's somewhat unique. Other pizzerias do that, but we're proud of our dough. There are techniques involved, obviously, but the ingredients that we use in many ways separate us from other pizzerias. And so the quality of ingredients and how they're prepared, so therefore our final product is different. If you go to any of the pizzerias, which there are many good pizzerias on the Front Range of Colorado, there are some that are fantastic. I'm not at all trying to say we're the best, but we are very proud of our product. And in the end of the day, the ingredients that we use and the techniques that we use separate us from other pizzerias. And so we use really quality ingredients. We also have a beautiful wood fire oven, which was made by Maine Wood Heat is the company. And the interior bricks are imported from France. They're quarried in France by a company and sold by a company called Le Pagnon. And then also we strive to have really quality fresh ingredients as well for our appetizers and starters. And then also the quality of service that we provide and the other offerings that we have at the bar. We're a pizzeria and tap house, so we always have a rotating list of quality wines, beers, and sodas. And the quality of service that we have took us years of work to attain. It's something that we have a happy staff in general, and that the vibe in the business is, I feel it's a good one. And I think that the customers feel that when they're in our business. If you're comfortable and feel comfortable in a setting when you're a guest, I really feel like that is a game changer when you're having a meal. Like it doesn't matter how good the meal is. If you're like uncomfortable in the setting, then you're not going to probably enjoy your meal. Not to say that other pizzerias are places that are uncomfortable. I just mean that I think that our quality of service is something that also sets us apart.
How many employees do you have at Crosscut?
Currently we have, it's either 49 or 50, right around 50 employees. Not all of those are obviously full-time. Many of them are part-time. We employ quite a few people in Netherlands and from elsewhere. People commute to work for us. We have a handful of people that drive to Crosscut from Longmont. We have people that drive to work from Arvada. There have been people that have driven from Broomfield and elsewhere, Boulder. So in some way, obviously, people are driving here for different reasons. I think that there's a lot that goes into that. But one of the reasons would be that it's a good place to work. We do employ high schoolers, people who are in college. We employ people that are longtime locals in Netherlands. And I do believe that we're one of the larger employees in Netherlands. Obviously, the school district is a huge one, and so is Eldora. And there are other businesses in Netherlands that employ quite a few people, like probably the BNF and the town of Netherlands employ quite a lot of locals, but we employ quite a lot of locals. Employing 50 people is not a small thing in this little town. I don't know whether you're wondering about labor and staffing issues and things. It's one of the hardest things that we deal with in our business in Netherlands is staffing. And a lot of that is rooted in our understandings in housing. Housing is a challenging one up here. It's become quite expensive to live up here, and so therefore it's hard for people that are working service jobs, many of them anyway, to afford to live in Netherlands and the surrounding areas. So that's a challenging piece for us as business owners. We pay people as well as we can, and we pay them well. Everybody in our business, you're probably aware of it, but there's something that MIT does for all towns in America. So Massachusetts Institute of Technology does a study about the living wage, which is essentially the livable wage for any area, and it is currently in Boulder just over $19. I believe it's like $19.20. I'd have to look it up. But we pay everybody enough with the tips that they make and other monies that we have figured out ways of paying people, especially in the back of the house, because there's usually quite a discrepancy between what people make in the front of the house and the back of the house in most kitchens and restaurants in America. And so we've studied with a labor lawyer to figure out ways to share some of the money to the people in the back of the house. But anyway, we strive to have people make at very least the livable wage, and usually more than that. So that's an important piece to us. But it's just hard. They call it a living wage, but it's challenging for people even that are making the living wage to afford housing in Boulder and now in Netherlands. So that's a really challenging piece, which might be part of the reason why we have quite a few people commuting to work for us.
And in regards to other business hardships, I guess, is there anything that COVID did that affected how things were run, and are there still barriers that are up because of that?
Yes, certainly COVID was a challenge and continues to be. It greatly affected our business. And in the beginning, we stayed open. We stayed open throughout it all. There were times when we were not making money as a business, but we stayed open through it. And we changed our style of service. We didn't change the quality of our food. But for a period of time, we allowed outdoor seating. For quite a long time, we had no indoor seating, and we were doing a lot of to-go business. Luckily, pizza is something that people are used to getting to go. So that helped us survive through that time. And there were definitely things that that we changed in our business. But yes, COVID certainly affected our business, and it continues to. I mean, we've had customers and employees who have continued to get COVID. There's the last wave that's going on right now. It continues to affect our business, but we're pushing through it. There is no option but to go forward and to deal with the circumstances.
Are the barriers still there?
I guess in some ways, and our employees and our customers are welcome to wear masks. Of course, we have supported trying to be as careful as we all can be. So it has been a real struggle. It's been an ongoing struggle for our managers and the owners. COVID has been a struggle, but we have gotten through it. We hope that we are just going to be able to continue to be careful, and we follow the guidelines that are given to us by our county, state, and country, and that's about it. We're just pushing through it.
Is there anything that you hope people will be able to take away when they come and visit Crosscut? Is there anything that you hope you'll be able to give people when they come and try some of the pizza?
Yes. I mean, we love to share our love for the things that we serve, the food and the beer and the wine. We are passionate about what we make and what we serve, and so we want to share our passion and love for quality foods. In many ways, not in all ways, but in many ways, what we serve is European in origin, in style. And so we want to share our love for those foods and drinks, and we want to also share a quality experience and feeling in our community. So I feel like one thing we're trying to have people walk away with is a feeling of, wow, that was way better than I expected, or wow, that was fantastic. And also, wow, what a cool little town. We have many locals that come in every single day. I mean, right now we're currently closed 1 day a week, but 6 days a week. And many locals clearly appreciate what we offer, but also much of our clientele, many of our guests are on vacation or are tourists. And so, yeah, without being too redundant, we want to share our appreciation of the foods and the drinks that we're serving. We want to share our appreciation of the town that we live in and the state that we live in. So I feel like when people come to Crosscut, I think that it's an experience, I guess. And so we are trying to make that a good experience.
Is there just anything else about the business in general that you want to add?
We're in a really cool building that was built in the 1890s, so it is historical. That's a pretty neat piece. We allow dogs on our patio. It seems that a lot of people really appreciate that. We have a new deck that we built this last year, which overlooks Boulder Creek, which runs right behind our business. That's pretty fantastic. We purchase a lot of Colorado beer in our bar, which we're proud of, getting a lot of local fantastic beer and wines. And then, as I've stated already, we're proud of our food. It is simple but good. That's what we strive for, is the simplicity, but also that being very quality. We're proud of also displaying local artist work on our walls. And we're really proud of our staff, quite honestly. Crosscut would not be what it is without our staff. Our staff make us who we are. And a lot of quality people come to us to work for us, maybe partially because we have a good product and we have a good name, but we have a really good cohesive team. And I think that that is a big part of who we are. I think that sums it up. Crosscut Pizza. I guess we have personal details about the owners. I personally have been working in kitchens since 1989, so I have quite a history now. I mean, 33 years, I guess, of working in kitchens. My wife and I have quite a lot of restaurant experience. The other owners clearly had a passion for pizza and for our ingredients and our dough and the building, the looks of it. I went to cooking school in Europe in the 90s, and I worked in Europe, in Portugal and France and Sweden, and also worked around the United States in my career. So I have worked in a variety of bakeries, restaurants in the United States and in Europe. And we're proud. We've been in business. I mean, this upcoming October, it'll be our 7th anniversary. It's 7 years. And that happened pretty fast. It's amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for coming on board and doing this interview. This was awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much to Seth for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. If you want to visit Crosscut Pizzeria, be sure to head to 4 East Main Street in Nederland. The pizzeria is open Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 3 to 9 p.m., Saturdays from 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sundays from 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you want more information before visiting, be sure to head to their website at crosscutpizza.com, message them on Facebook at Crosscut Pizzeria, or contact them by phone at 303-258-3519.
Thanks, Jamie. Did you know the Gilpin County and Nederland area seniors have their schedule events in print in the Mountaineer each week? Looking for meals, movies, grocery shopping, and more? It's right here between pages 4 and 5 each week.
And for our final story, here is Ashley Martin of Central City talking about the 48th annual Lou Bunch Day. Take it away, Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and let me introduce you to Ashley Martin of Central City.
I am on the Main Street Central City Commission, and we are putting on an event this August 13th, taking place at 12 o'clock and ending at 7 p.m., and this is in honor of Madame Lou Bunch. Madame Lou Bunch was the town's most successful brothel owner from the Gold Rush days. And so once a year, we like to honor her by doing this bed race in town on Main Street. And we're going to have a lot of teams this year competing for the trophy. And it's just great fun. We're going to have live entertainment. We have music. Jimmy Lewis Band is coming. Blinker Fluid is coming. And we have the infamous backroom cabaret dancers. It is a fun, wild day. The Madams and Minors Ball starts at 5:30 and it ends at 8 p.m. So we're going to have food vendors up and down the street. It's just a great way to meet local businesses and support Central City and what we have going on there. We have a lot of great little restaurants and shops that people can visit during the day, as well as we're going to be having a performance by the Wild Bunch. It's a Western reenactment, and we have other live performances from other people. So there'll be a big stage and live music. So it's just going to be a great day for people to walk and wander and meet locals and meet other people from out of town.
How did this festival come to be? Who helped organize the event? Who started this whole idea for the festival? How did it all begin?
So it originally began in Central City, and Main Street puts on this festival. And what Main Street Central City Commission does is we're trying to keep Main Streets alive around the country. So it's a program that Central City has adopted, and we try to throw lots of different events throughout the year, and this one is our biggest. So it happens once a year, and we just want to support all of our local businesses on Main Street, and this is a good way of bringing people into the town and kind of understanding Central City's history.
Lou Bunch was specifically picked for the festival because of her historical importance to Central City. Is that correct?
Correct. She was the town's most successful brothel owner from the Gold Rush days, and it's funny, it's the only day anywhere in Colorado that's dedicated to a madam. And I just think she was this incredible businesswoman, and a lot of people respected her. And it's funny, the reason they do the bed racing was from a Western film that was filmed in Central City, and there was a scene featuring the bed racing, and so it just sparked this idea of honoring her that way. It's just a hoot and holler, like watching these people run these beds up and down Main Street, because there's a bit of an incline. So it's always fun watching them race down, but then they have to turn around and go back up the street. And it's just great. It's a bunch of local people who are racing, and a lot of casinos. Timberline Fire, I hear, is going to have a bed team this year. We have Eureka Street Popcorn, and then some representatives from the Hardt District in Blackhawk are going to be running a bed. Good, clean fun.
From the stuff you've kind of been talking about previous bed races and all that sort of stuff, this is not the first time the festival has occurred.
This is not. It is the 48th annual Madame Lou Bunch Day. So this has been going on a while.
Do you remember what the first festival you experienced was? Do you remember what year you first experienced the festival?
I joined Main Street last year. So last year I joined, I think it was 2 weeks before Madame Lou Bunch Day. I became a commissioner for Main Street, and I live in Central City. I love Central City, and I just love keeping Main Street alive. I think it's important that people come and visit these towns that we still have. And the buildings are incredible. The people are great. The businesses have just unique offers. Eureka Street Popcorn just opened up, and I hope people take advantage of the day to go and look at that historical building and kind of look around and see what these incredible gentlemen did with this building, because it's keeping it alive. And that's what we're looking for with Main Street. It's what we try to keep going with this program.
What are you personally most excited for about this year's festival in particular?
Well, I am a timer for the bed races, so I think I'm most excited for the bed races. The parade is really cool too. That kind of starts off the bed racing where everyone gets to walk down Main Street and everyone's in costume, and it's just really cool to see people in Western and Victorian wear. And also the dancers are incredible. The infamous backroom cabaret. I mean, you just don't get to see that anymore. So I'm excited to see their performance this year. They were pretty amazing last year.
What are you hoping that people will be able to take away from the festival when they come? What are you hoping that people will be able to experience when they come to the festivals? What are you just hoping the message of the festival will be?
I hope that people remember Central City and who we are and what we stand for, and we're not just a passing by town. Like, stop off, have lunch, shop around, see our buildings, wander the streets. We have some incredible parks and a reservoir and lake, and there's just so much more to Central City than what people think. And I think if you just have time to spend a day walking around and enjoying what we have, you can see that it's not just a passing by town. And to keep it alive, people run businesses up here, and it's hard. One, it's hard living in Central City. Two, it's hard having a business in Central City, and we want to keep that going.
Is there anything else about the festival or anything else I kind of forgot about asking that you want to add?
I just hope people come in costume. It makes it more fun and adds to the event. It's very cool to see what people come up with on the day of, and I know I'll be in costume, and everybody on Main Street will be, and everybody picks a theme, or there's a costume contest for the bed racing. The bed racing, by the way, there's prizes. There's cash prizes. So that's what's really exciting, and the best costume also gets a prize. So it's fun to come and kind of relive that time. So we're looking for 1800s themes. So most people do Victorian or Western wear.
I think those are all the big questions I have on my end about the festival.
Well, thank you for your time. I hope everybody comes and checks us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on board. This was awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much to Ashley for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. Be sure to head to the 48th Annual Madame Lou Bunch Day and Famous Bed Race on Saturday, August 13th, 2022 on Main Street in Central City, starting at 12 p.m.
Thanks, friends, and don't forget to pick up this week's edition of The Mountaineer in print in multiple locations across the Peak to Peak for the latest news from Allens Park to Central City and Blackhawk, with all of the communities and canyons in between. To contact The Mountaineer, email us at info@themountaineer.com or call 303-810-5409. And that's it for this week's episode of The Mountaineer Podcast.
All editions of the Mountaineer Podcast, print newspaper, and the latest news are always available on our website at www.themountaineer.com. Thanks, everyone. I'm Doug Armitage.
And I'm Barbara Hardt. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Every kitchen they're stumbling and hurrying home for the very first taste. A bicycle passes by, squeak and wheel every time it turns. I hear the wind chimes on the breeze, rustling the leaves on the trees.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak-to-Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.